It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back as we talk now specifically to our parents. And you might notice if you have a young child or a teenager that they often go through phases of stormy tantrums. Sometimes they might feel like nothing they're doing is coming right. We know that being a teenager can be incredibly difficult. I'm now joined Nikki Bush as she joins Thenji to give us some very practical advice on how you can help your teenager get through those difficult and challenging times.
Even the best of children can go through quite a challenging phase, and even the best of parents can feel a little bit stumped as to how to deal with that. We chat to creative parenting expert Nikki Bush on tips for parents on what to do when the going gets tough. Nikki, I'm sure parents notice every now and again where the child they know, who's quite an angel, becomes a little bit of a hellraiser. What exactly is going on then?
Thenji, it's quite interesting. Just before a child's birthday, somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks leading up to a child's birthday, that really lovely child you knew can disappear without a trace. And you wonder what on earth happened. And what's going on is that they're shifting brain-body space in a really big way. And internally, they know something's changed, but they have no words to actually describe what it is. And so they start acting out. They start becoming irritable. They start seeking attention. They start becoming angry. You know, this sort of thing that maybe is out of character for them. And this really is an important thing that we need to acknowledge, that maybe it's not that your child has become a permanently revolting creature, but this too will pass.
So how can parents deal with this child, especially in a home where there's more than one sibling?
It's really difficult when you have one child going through a challenging time and the other child or two children are so nice, because you tend to want to say, why can't you be nice like your brother? And what's unhelpful for the child going through this time is to be compared. So you almost have to be a little bit more on the ball and forward thinking. And instead of getting them all to clear the dishes and do the dishwasher, because then you're going to compare how one child's doing a better job than the other, get the challenging child to do something completely different on their own so that they can't be compared. And also using the art of distraction. You know, this art of distraction is a very underutilized parenting tool.
Parents, I'm sure, will jump at the opportunity to really go on that excursion and take their child's mind off of things. But what can they do on a day-to-day basis to really help them ease into that period of transition?
When you come home from school or you pick your kids up from aftercare and you've got to come home and do homework, this is the child who's going to go, I don't feel like doing this. This is so boring, you know, and they're going to not want to engage in what they have to do. That's the point at which you use play as a language as opposed to fighting with your child, or just go and lie outside and look at the clouds for 5 or 10 minutes. Just connect as human beings as opposed to being oppositional. And I think we tend to put the responsibility on the child to get themselves out of this difficult space.
What are children really trying to communicate to their parents when they act this way?
When they're feeling confused and they're feeling their world is kind of upside down, what they're really needing is love, attention, security, and bringing those boundaries in a little bit tighter. You know, you talk about those teenage years when they're pushing those boundaries. They're often pushing to see when you're going to push back. And they will push as far as they can until somebody says, I think that's a little bit too far. This is where it ends. And they feel much more secure when they know where that boundary is.
And as they get older, how can the parent-child relationship really help dealing with those changing phases when play doesn't really help anymore?
So Thenji, that's the time when you would take your child out for a milkshake, or you'd go off to a movie where you don't have to speak, because sometimes at that age they really don't want to talk to you. But being together is still important. And then it's so vital that you surround your children with people who you trust and that they trust, who can actually bridge that gap for you when your child is maybe not opening up to you. That they can actually be there to facilitate conversations. Maybe they've had experiences that they can actually share with your child that will help them to get over this difficult phase.
With shoes all shined, shirts pressed, and mom and dad well prepared, going back to school can be an exciting and happy time for the whole family.